There you are. I thought I heard the grass hush beneath your steps. Come now, sit. There's room enough by the fire and warmth enough for two. No rush. The night will wait for you, and so will I. Listen, can you hear it? That low hum, the waterfall, just beyond this rise of moss and stone. It sings its endless song the same way it has for as long as the trees have stood. It spills silver over the cliff's edge, and the mist it sends up catches the firelight like little stars drifting low to the ground. Sometimes I forget how beautiful stillness can be, until I come back here, until I stop. They've placed a soft patch of wool beside me. You'll find it warmer than it looks, especially with the fire dancing close. My old cloak, too, if the breeze finds you. The night air carries a bit of the river's chill, though I find it rather comforting, like the sigh of a friend who's finally let the day go. You've traveled far, haven't you? Maybe not in leagues or miles, but in thoughts, in hours, in the quiet battles no one sees. I see it on your shoulders, the kind of weariness only time can gather. But you've arrived. And here, my friend, there's nothing more you need to carry. Look just there. Beside me, curled into herself, is my companion, a violet dragon, old as dusk and twice as gentle. She's already drifted into dreams, her breath slow and deep. Her scales catch the glow of the embers now and then, little flickers of amethyst beneath the fire's orange sigh. You'll find she snores softly, like wind brushing the top of tall grass. You needn't fear her. She guards only in sleep now. These days she rests as I do, not from weariness, but because we've earned the stillness. Do you hear how the forest hushes around us? It's not silence, no, never that. The trees creak faintly overhead, like old friends sharing secrets. Somewhere, a night bird calls low and slow, and insects hum a song of patience between the ferns. Even the fire speaks, if you listen closely, each crackle like a whisper of wood remembering the sun. There's something about this place that quiets the heart. I've made camp here many times, always after long seasons. It's not marked on any map. Not really. You could wander the woods for days and not see this clearing, but it always finds me when I need it. And now it has found you too. Would you like some tea? I've steeped it over the coals since twilight. Nothing fancy, just herbs gathered near the river bend. Sweet mint, a touch of wild chamomile, and something blue whose name I've forgotten, but whose smell reminds me of cool mornings and linen sheets. I'll pour you a cup when you're ready, or not at all. No expectations here, only kindness. You don't have to speak tonight. If words feel too heavy, I've come to learn there's a great sort of wisdom in silence. When I was younger, I'd have filled this moment with stories and questions, but now I find more peace in presence. Yours, mine, the fires, the forests. The stars will come out soon, just past the tree line, and when they do, they'll reflect in the pool below the falls like they've spilled from the sky. The dragon will wake for just a breath to look at them. She always does, then sigh and drift again. It's her ritual. Mine is this, offering you a place by the flame, a pause in your path, and peace enough to fall asleep by. So breathe, dear one. There is nothing more you must do. Let the sounds cradle you, the rhythm of the waterfall, the pulse of the fire, the heartbeat of a land that asks for nothing but your being. Stay as long as you need. We are in no hurry. And when you are ready to sleep, sleep will come gently, just as the night has, just as you have. Welcome. You are safe here. You are home. There now. You've settled in nicely, haven't you? That's good. Let your shoulders rest. Let your breath find its rhythm. You are safe here, my friend. Safer than any castle wall or sharpened blade could offer. Safer, I think, than we sometimes let ourselves believe. This forest, it is older than I can name, older than our stories, even the whispered ones passed down beside firelight and folded bread. The trees here stretch up like cathedral spires, thick and wide and gnarled with time. Their bark is etched with the slow language of age, not carved by hands, but by wind and rain and patience. Some of the trunks have twisted into arches where deer pass silently beneath, as if walking through a forgotten gate. Others lean together in hushes, as though they remember something they've chosen not to say aloud. The air tonight holds that particular stillness that comes after a long sunlit day. You know the kind where the warmth still lingers in the moss and stone, but the breeze carries a promise of cool sleep. Pine and wild earth rise around us, scents so deep in the bones of this place that I sometimes wonder if the forest itself breathes. Just beside us, the waterfall sings. Not in thunder or roar. No, nothing so grand. Its song is low, smooth and slow, like a lullaby half remembered from childhood. It slips over the rock face like poured silk, glimmering in moonlight that filters through the leaves. And when the mist rises, it drapes the glade in a silver hush, softening every edge and echo, like the world itself has wrapped a blanket round its shoulders. You'll notice, if you listen closely, that the water doesn't fall in one note. It has layers, like a gentle choir. There's the steady spill from the highest ledge, and below it, the softer chatter of streamlets finding their path over stone. Between them, pools gather quietly, still mirrors that reflect the stars, each one trembling only when touched by a falling leaf or a dragon's sigh. Moss grows thick here, not just underfoot, but along the stones and even part way up the trunks. It's springy, deep green, and cool to the touch. I pressed my hand into it earlier, just to feel its texture again, like velvet left outside too long, seasoned by wind and time. When I pulled my glove off, the damp clung to my skin, smelling faintly of riverbanks and shaded groves. There's something about that scent that always softens me, like a memory without words. You might see petals drifting through the air, pale ones, blush-colored, slow as feathers. There's a tree just beyond that curve in the hill, one that blossoms well past spring. No one knows why. It simply does. It sheds a few flowers every evening, no matter the season. I've watched them fall like snow in the stillness, catching on dragon wings or the brim of my helm. Tonight, one landed on my knee and stayed there for nearly an hour before the wind finally remembered it. And speaking of wings, she's here, you know. My old companion, curled just so beside the fire, her violet scales glimmering faintly as she breathes. The firelight dances across her flanks, not in flashes but in a quiet golden rhythm, like candlelight in a chapel window. She's warm, you can feel it from here. Her breath smells faintly of river mint and ashwood, a scent that has followed me for more years than I can count, and one I would never wish to lose. Her chest rises and falls in a rhythm slower than mine. It grounds me, somehow, reminds me that even the fiercest of us must rest, that even dragons dream. And all around us the forest watches, but not in the way people do. It doesn't judge or wonder, it simply is. The ferns lean toward the warmth of the fire. The fireflies drift between the brambles like little lanterns on gentle errands. They glow a soft gold, then blink away, only to return moments later, as if to say, yes, we're still here. Have you ever noticed the hush of a place that expects nothing from you, that asks nothing but your quiet presence? This is one of those rare spaces. It doesn't need our stories or our songs. It offers no tests, no paths to follow, only softness, only breath, only this. The stones near the water's edge are smooth, worn by centuries of gentle flow. I once picked one up and held it for an hour, tracing its shape as though it might speak, and in a way it did. Not in words, but in weight and stillness. That's the sort of language this place speaks. Even the light here is different. It doesn't shine, it glows. The moonlight filters through the canopy in slow drizzles, pooling in patches on the moss. And the fire, it doesn't burn so much as breathe. The embers hum with memory. If you lean close, you can hear the wood shift and sigh, each crackle like a sentence left unfinished. And oh, the quiet, not emptiness, not absence, but presence, the kind of quiet that fills the chest, that slows the thoughts and invites them to lie down beside you, the kind that wraps around your ribs and says, you are allowed to stop now. This place, it is not on any map. It cannot be found, not truly. Only received. It appears, I think, when the heart is too tired to keep marching, and finally asks, not aloud but inward, please, may I rest? And then, here it is. The moss, the stone, the fire, the waterfall, the breath of a dragon, the hush of old trees, and you, arriving not late nor early, but exactly when you needed to. We have no need for walls or roofs tonight. The stars will keep us, the forest will shelter us, the dragon will watch and sleep, and I will keep the fire. So breathe in deep, my friend. Let the scent of pine and damp stone settle behind your eyes. Let the hush of the water pull at the tension in your chest. Let your hands rest open, your thoughts wander where they will. There is no need to hold anything here. Not name, nor worry, nor time. You are not lost. You are here, in this quiet glade, where the world asks nothing of you. Stay with me. Stay as long as you like. We shall speak more later, or not at all. For now the world has gone soft, and the forest leans in to listen. Sills listen too. It's a curious thing, isn't it? The way we carry ourselves through the world, the names we take on, the roles we play, the armor we wear. For so long, I thought those things defined me. But here, in the hush of this forest, by the warmth of this fire, they all seem quieter now, like echoes in a far valley, softened by time. I've gone by many names, dear friend. Some given, some earned, and some I would rather forget. I've ridden beneath countless banners, gold lions, silver trees, the rising sun, and once a crescent moon stitched in thread so fine I feared to soil it. Each name, each symbol came with its own expectations, its own weight, but none of them sit beside me now, only you and the dragon, and this moment. The armor I wear, it's seen better days, I'll grant you that. The polish catches the firelight in soft, flickering lines, and if you look close you'll find the dents and scratches have their own quiet map. I no longer shine it for show, or for readiness. No, I polish it the way one might brush an old friend's coat, or straighten the folds in a beloved's cloak. It's not ceremony, it's remembrance. Each mark tells a story, not of triumph, but of presence, of having been somewhere, having felt something, having stood still when it mattered. This one here, near the elbow, from leaning too long against a stone wall, listening to rain. That faint line across the greave, a bramble no more, but I kept it. Not all scars are wounds. I don't wear a sword anymore. You may have noticed that. There was a time I wouldn't have dared sit unarmed, even in a grove like this. But these days, my hands have grown used to holding gentler things. A spoon for stirring tea, a quill for jotting half-finished thoughts. Sometimes just the paw of my dragon, curled beside me, seeking warmth. You see her, don't you? Sleeping still, her breath slow and even. She's been with me longer than any banner, longer than most of my names. We didn't begin as companions, of course. Trust rarely walks in quickly. It must be invited, step by step. But she stayed, through seasons both lean and lush, through fire and frost, through the long quiet that follows a life of noise. I often find myself watching her as I speak, not for answers. No, dragons aren't prone to offering them, but there's something steadying in her presence. Like a lighthouse you don't need to reach, just knowing it's there is enough. You might wonder what I rest from. If not exhaustion, it's a fair question. I rest from the urgency, I think, from the always doing, always striving, always proving. There came a day when I realized I was allowed to stop. That peace was not something given at the end of a long road, but something you could sit down and claim in the middle of it. And so, I did. This grove, this fire, this moment, none of it is the reward for surviving something terrible. It's simply what happens when we stop long enough to notice the world's softness. I wasn't always soft. I don't say that proudly. But the world taught me that strength meant hardness, that gentleness was a risk. It took me longer than I care to admit to unlearn that, to realize that a quiet voice can carry more truth than a shouted order, that listening, truly listening, is a skill forged slower than any blade. These days I speak more slowly. I move more deliberately. I leave more room in my days for silence. And for this, sitting beside you, sharing space, sharing breath, that is enough. Do you know, sometimes I wake in the middle of the night. Not startled, not afraid, just awake. And I find myself tracing the edge of the gauntlet at my side, or the stitching in my cloak. And I remember the hands that made these things. The blacksmith in the village with the crooked smile, the weaver who hummed while she worked. They are with me still, in a way. We carry more than we know. I carry laughter too. Moments where joy arrived unexpectedly. A shared joke with a tavern keeper. A dragon sneezing and knocking over half the camp. The way someone once said my name with such fondness, I believed in myself again just for a moment. Those memories, they rest in me now, not as burdens but as balm. And I carry quiet griefs. Names of friends I no longer speak aloud. Places I loved that no longer stand. I don't try to let them go. I simply hold them with more gentleness now. Like a stone warmed by the sun, it's okay to set it down beside you, to let it be part of the story, not the whole of it. I suppose that's what I am now. Really, not a knight of anything anymore. Just a person with stories and time and a fire that's always warm for those who come seeking rest. So, if ever you wonder who I am, you'll find no grand title here, no kingdom laid out beneath my feet, only worn boots, polished armor, a dragon curled close, and a heart that's grown quieter over time. I'm someone who's wandered far enough to know that stillness is not the absence of purpose. It's its own kind of path. You've met me at a time when I have nothing to prove and everything to feel. And I'm glad, truly glad. Then stay close, if you wish, or simply listen. You don't need to ask anything more of me. I am here, and I am not going anywhere. And tonight, neither are you. You know, my dear friend, some nights are not meant for journeys of the body. Tonight I don't feel the pull of road or trail, nor the ache to chase something unseen. No, tonight is for something quieter, a return, not with boots and bridle, but with memory, a soft return to a place long vanished, yet still blooming in the back of my mind. Have I ever told you of the grove of silver flowers? Not many know it. It wasn't marked on any map, not even the whispered ones traded over tankards or drawn with sticks in campfire ash. It was the sort of place you happened upon by mistake, or perhaps by need. Nestled between two rolling hills where the morning mist liked to linger longer than it should, hidden by a crown of elder trees whose roots braided the earth like old stories curling into one another. The flowers weren't silver in the way coin is. No, they shimmered like moonlight seen through tears, soft, not sharp. Gentle, when the wind passed through, their petals trembled like they were trying to remember a song. And when the sun rose just right, they'd catch the light and seem to hum, as if all of them together were sighing. That grove, it never left me, though I only saw it once. It was spring, or something close to it. The kind of spring that still smells faintly of frost in the early hours, where the grass is bold and green, but the wind reminds you that winter hasn't stepped fully aside. I was younger then, not unscarred, but still eager. My armor gleamed without effort in those days, and I rode with more certainty than wisdom. But I remember, clear as the sky after rain, the moment I saw those silver blossoms swaying in the dappled light. And I remember who was beside me. They rode a roan mare with white socks and a laugh that stayed in the chest long after it left the lips. We weren't knights yet, not in name at least, just wanderers with hearts too large and maps too vague. We had argued the night before about nothing really, about which stream was colder, or whether we'd passed the same oak twice. Silly things. But come morning the world forgave us both, and we found that clearing as if it had been waiting. They were the first to step into it. I held back. Something about it felt sacred, though there were no stones or altars to say so. Just the hush of it, the reverence of the wind. But they walked right in, boots barely disturbing the grass, and turned to me with eyes wide, saying, "You have to see this." And so, I did. We stayed there for hours, maybe longer. Time felt different among those flowers, like the air itself held its breath. We didn't speak much. We didn't need to. Sometimes that's the truest form of being known, isn't it? To sit beside someone and say nothing, and still feel heard. They picked one of the blooms, gently with both hands as though it might shatter, pressed it between the pages of a little book they carried. I asked them why, and they said, "So I don't as forget what quiet looks like." I never saw that grove again. Seasons passed, roads forked, choices were made, as they always are. I don't regret the turning. Not exactly, but I do miss the feeling of that moment, of stillness, held like a breath, of knowing nothing was required of me, but to be present. That's what I've come to revisit tonight. Not the place itself, but the feeling. The memory, the hush, the silver. It's strange how memories work, isn't it? They're not always sharp like blades. Sometimes they arrive like mist, soft-edged, curling into corners, taking shape only when you stop trying to name them. And sometimes they come bearing not facts, but feelings. The weight of a hand, the color of a glance, the scent of rain in someone's hair. I remember how the petals looked against their skin, pale on pale, and yet not the same. One shimmered, one breathed. I remember the way their fingertips trembled just slightly, not from cold, but from reverence. They said the flowers reminded them of promises, beautiful and fragile, and worth making, even if they faded. Funny thing is, I don't remember what we promised that day. Maybe we didn't say it aloud. Maybe just the act of being there was promise enough. There are days I wonder what became of them. I hope they found other groves. I hope their laughter still lingers in someone else's chest, the way it does in mine. I sometimes imagine that grove still exists, hidden, waiting, blooming quietly for no one at all. Perhaps that's its magic, that it doesn't need to be seen to be real. Or maybe it bloomed only once, for us, and now it rests. Either way, I carry it, not as burden, but as blessing. You see, my friend, not all quests are meant to be conquered. Some are meant to be remembered, carried inward, tended like embers, breathed to life again on nights like this. Nights when the air is soft, and the fire kind, and the dragon sleeps with her tail curled close. Tonight, my quiet goal is to return there, not with my feet, but with the slow drift of memory and the warmth of this stillness. I will walk the edges of that grove again in my heart. I will hear their voice echo faintly through the trees. I will watch the silver flowers move like breath in a body too old for haste, and I will sit once more in the peace that needed no reason to be. And maybe if you close your eyes with me, you'll see it too. Not the grove, perhaps, but your own silver place, your own soft return. We all carry such places, I believe, somewhere deep, wrapped in time and tenderness. Some are gardens, some are lullabies, some are names spoken once and never again, but they are there waiting, asking nothing, offering only this. Remember me, not as I was, but as you felt. So let us go gently there, together, in stillness, in quiet, in breath, not to grasp or hold, but simply to sit, that to remember. You're still awake, dear heart. That's all right. Sometimes, even in the gentlest of nights, the soul wishes to stay open just a while longer, not to think, not to plan, only to remember. Come closer to the warmth if you'd like. The fire has settled into a low amber glow, and the moss beside me still holds the heat from before. The dragon hasn't stirred in some time. Her breathing is slow now, peaceful, a rhythm as steady as a lullaby. I think I'd like to share a few small things with you. Not grand stories, not quests or kingdoms or climaxes. No, only little moments, the kind the world almost forgets to treasure, though they shimmer with quiet meaning. You see, I've found that some of the softest memories leave the deepest imprints, not with weight, but with warmth. And on nights like this, when the stars lean in and the trees listen close, those memories come back like fireflies, slow, glowing, kind. Do you see her? Just there, curled beside the fire? The dragon, yes, her wings folded neatly, her tail tucked in, as if the world itself had offered her sleep. But that wasn't always her way. No, for a long time she kept her distance close enough to be near, but never truly beside. She would perch on stones or coils of root, always with one eye open, a sentinel, a shadow, a presence half held. Then one evening, quiet like this one, something changed. I had been polishing my greaves, humming without thinking, a tune from childhood I no longer remembered the words to, and when I looked up, she had moved, not by much, only a few paces, but she had chosen to lay her body down beside mine. Her flank brushed against the side of my knee. Her breath warmed the edge of my cloak. She had chosen trust, not with ceremony, not with fanfare, but in that simple act of settling near. And that, my friend, was one of the most sacred things I've ever received. Trust, when it arrives slowly, is a tender kind of grace. Another time, another small thread in this long, quiet tapestry, I had wandered into a market square just past dusk. It was a modest place, not much more than a ring of stones and a handful of canvas stalls. The sort of village where even the wind feels familiar, where bread is left to cool on windowsills, and the dogs wander freely, tails wagging from door to door. I had no coin that day. Not that it mattered. I wasn't in search of anything, but my stomach had ideas of its own. I remember standing beside a baker's stall, watching as he lifted a flat, warm loaf from his stone oven, the crust golden, the scent filling the square like a hymn. I turned to walk away, not wanting to linger, and then he pressed a half loaf into my hand. No words, just that. A gesture. His eyes were gentle, lined from years of sun and flower. He only nodded once. I nodded back. That was all. And you know, it wasn't the bread that stayed with me. It was the silence between us, not awkward but full, the kind of silence where two souls recognize something kindred. I don't know his name. He never asked mine, but sometimes when I'm alone with the fire, I think of him, and I hope that his ovens still glow warm, that his hands still knead peace into every loaf. Moments like those, they taught me that love doesn't always announce itself. It arrives quietly, tucked into gestures, folded into the smallest acts. A look, a loaf, a nearness. And then there was the time someone said, "My name," not shouted it, not called it out from across a field or over a crowded hall, just said it, softly, as though it were a treasure, as though it mattered, not because of what I had done, but because of who I was. There was something about the way they said it, like the syllables had been carefully wrapped in cloth and handed to me with both palms open. It had been a long time since anyone had said my name with care. Most had used it with purpose, to summon, to command, to remember. But that night, it was used for presence, for seeing. And oh, how it stilled me, as if all the armor I wore, visible and not, had loosened in a single breath. I don't remember what followed. Only that moment, that word, that tone. Even now, when I polish my armor, I think of it. The way a name can become a kind of balm, a soft reminder that we are known not for what we carry, but for what we are when we finally put it down. A GP is small things like that close. Trinkets, perhaps, to some, but to me they are waystones. There's a little wooden token I've carried for years, smooth and dark, carved with a simple shape, a sleeping bird curled in a nest. I found it tied to my saddle one morning, after resting in a field near a village whose name I've long forgotten. No note, no explanation, just the token, a quiet gift. I've never known who left it, but I've never ridden without it since. And there was the leaf. Ah, yes, the leaf. It was autumn, but not quite. The kind of season where the trees hesitate. I found it floating in a stream, spinning slowly as if dancing for no one but the sky. It was golden, but speckled with green, as though it hadn't made up its mind. I watched it for a long time, and then gently lifted it from the water with the tip of my glove. I dried it in the pages of my journal, and though it crumbled eventually, as all such things do, I remember it still, not for its color, but for its pause, its moment between seasons, its in-betweenness. It reminded me of myself, I think, of how we are all becoming, even when we seem to be still. Sometimes I wonder how many of these moments I've missed, too busy, too burdened, too blinkered to notice. But then I remember, we are not meant to collect every star. Just a few, enough to light our path home. And tonight under this sky, with the dragon breathing gently beside us, and the fire offering its soft hush, I find myself grateful for the stars I did gather, for the silver grove I once knew, for the baker's nod, the dragon's nearness, the whisper of my name. They are not tales to rouse, no battles, no fanfare, but they are mine, and now, in sharing them with you, they are yours too, if you wish them. Perhaps you've gathered moments like these, quiet tokens, tucked into your own inner satchel. The look of someone who saw you when you thought yourself unseen, the warmth of a touch given without expectation, a song half heard through a door you never opened. Yes, yes, I think you have. I can see it in the way your shoulders have softened, in the rhythm of your breath. You are remembering too. Let them come then. Let them arrive on their own time. You needn't force them forward. Just make space. A little space like this, a fire, a silence, a slow night. And when they come, greet them as old friends. Hold them gently. Let them rest beside you like the dragon rests now, curled not in fear but in peace. That is what we are doing here, my friend. Not sleeping yet, perhaps, but resting. Yes, and remembering, not the noise but the quiet, not the battles, but the breath between them, not the weight, but the warmth. Stay here with me, just a while longer. There's no rush. Let the fire burn low. Let the stars lean close. And let the little things, the calm, shining things, rise up softly within you, like mist over still water. Still awake, my friend? I thought so. Some silences stretch long into the night, not empty but full of things we never found the right moment to say, or perhaps never needed to. There's something sacred in that, don't you think? In the way we can sit here together without speaking, and yet feel as though something deep within us is being heard. The fire's grown lower now. It hums rather than crackles. The shadows it casts have grown soft around the edges, like memory, like the thoughts I've been sitting with as the stars rise higher in the sky. I find myself thinking more these days, not about what was done, not the choices made, the banners carried, the names spoken in haste, but about what it all meant and what remains. You see, I've come to believe that stories, the ones we live and the ones we carry, don't stay fixed, they shift as we do. What once felt like triumph may now feel like longing. What once seemed a mistake may in hindsight look like the only path the heart could walk. Time does that, not to deceive but to soften, to let us touch the edges without being cut. I choose stories to be admired. I speak them aloud because they ache less when they're shared. not performed, but offered, like laying down a stone you've carried too long, not throwing it away, but setting it down where someone else might sit beside it. I've known warriors who could recite every blow struck in a battle, every wound taken, every banner lowered, but I remember less of those moments now. What I remember are the pauses between them, the hush after the storm, when you're not sure if what you're feeling is grief or gratitude, or both. And I wonder sometimes if we soften as we grow older, not because we lose strength, but because we gain tenderness. Because the world has brushed against us so many times that we begin to understand its gentler languages, the way moss creeps quietly over stone, or how the wind hums a song only the still can hear. Take her, for example, the dragon. Once, she would not sleep with her back exposed. She would watch the shadows with unblinking eyes, her wings tight, her fire banked but never gone. Now she snores, truly snores. A little huff through the nostrils every few breaths, followed by a low rumble in her throat, like a cat's purr the size of a cathedral bell. And I love her for it, for the way she has let her guard fall in this place, for the trust that it took to close her eyes beside me. Once I would have been afraid of her. Or perhaps I was, a younger version of myself, would have seen a threat in her teeth, a challenge in her gaze. But fear, I think, is often just the name we give to what we don't yet understand. Sita. Now I understand her silence. I understand the way her tail wraps inward, not outward. I understand the gentleness that can lie coiled beneath great strength. And perhaps, just perhaps, she understands the same in me. You see, I no longer seek to be known in the way I once did. I used to think that being seen was the same as being valued, that the louder the tale, the brighter the torch. But the truth is, I would rather be understood than recognized, not because I am difficult, no, but because understanding asks for presence, not performance. It asks for stillness, for listening, and I have grown fond of being listened to, even in silence. I used to carry so much, not just swords and shields, but expectations, regrets, guilt like gravel in the soles of my boots. I carried the fear that if I let go of those burdens I might disappear, that I might be nothing without them. But here's what I've learned. Letting go is not vanishing. It is remembering what you are beneath the weight. And what I am, dear one, is not what I once was. I am quieter now, not broken, not lost, just slower, softer around the edges, more patient with my own forgetting, more forgiving of the parts of me that never quite learned how to stay. Fashes, stirred. That's the word that's been sitting with me tonight. It's such a quiet thing, isn't it? You'd think it would come with trumpets, with announcements, a grand unfurling. But in truth, forgiveness arrives more like dew. It settles without ceremony. It moistens the hardened earth in you. It seeps in. And most often it begins in silence. Not the silence of absence, but of making space, the kind of silence where you stop rehearsing the wound, where you stop seeking an answer, where you simply say, I no longer wish to carry this, and then, gently, you place it down. Some of the things I've forgiven, no one ever asked me to. Some of the people I've forgiven never even knew I was hurting. And perhaps most strangely of all, the hardest person to forgive has always been myself. But I, too, learning. I'm learning that forgiveness is not about erasing the story. It's about loosening your grip on the version of yourself who needed it to end differently, and holding instead the person you became in its aftermath, not as punishment, but as proof that you kept walking, that you kept breathing, that you found your way to this fire, to this place, to this moment, where the only thing you're asked to do is rest. That sips the gift isn't it, not perfection, not resolution. List away. You and I, we've walked very different paths, and yet here we are, sharing the same sky, breathing the same air scented with pine and ash and dragon warmth, listening to the same stream babble its moonlit secrets to the stones. And in this moment we are not what the world asked of us. We are only what we are willing to be. I am grateful for that, grateful for you, for your presence, for your listening, the things, for your stillness. Let's stay here just a little longer. The fire still glows, the dragon still dreams, and somewhere beyond the trees the stars are nodding their quiet approval. You do not have to be anything more than this, not tonight. Just breathe, just be. You are not alone. You are not wrong. You are not too late. You are simply here, and in that there is peace. Moo, you're still with me. Good, I hadn't meant to drift quite so deep into myself, but it seems this night invites that sort of thing. Slow unravelings, gentle landings. The fire's a whisper now, no longer bright, but steady, like a heart at rest. You can lie back if you wish, or lean a little closer. There's no need to stay sitting upright if your body asks for softness. We've traveled far together this evening, not across stone or soil, but across memory, across feeling. That kind of journey leaves its own ache. Not sharp, not loud, just the sort that settles into the bones like dusk. My hand rests on her scales now. The dragon's just lightly. She doesn't stir. Her warmth rises through my glove, through the worn wool of my cloak, and into the hollow of my palm, like an ember with breath. She is still with me. I am still with her. It's strange, isn't it? I set out tonight with some vague thought of remembering that grove, those silver flowers, that silence wrapped in light. I never found it. Not really. Not in the way one finds a place again with their eyes. But I realize now I didn't need to. I didn't need to arrive anywhere at all. What I found was the stillness inside me that remembered it. Sometimes that sips all the returning we need. You know, when I was younger, perhaps even when I first laid this very blanket upon the ground, I thought every journey needed a destination, a marker, an ending, a purpose to point to and say, there, that is where I was meant to go. But the longer I've lived, the more I've come to understand that not all paths are made to end. Some are simply meant to be walked, for the feel of the moss beneath your soles, for the way the air changes at the edge of a forest clearing, for the chance to share the night with someone who sits beside you and simply breathes. And some journeys, the most meaningful ones perhaps, end not with arrival, but with sitting down, just sitting. There is a kind of surrender in that, isn't there? A quiet one, not of giving up, but of giving in to peace, to stillness, to the notion that rest itself can be enough, that there is wisdom in choosing to stay when the world would have you chase. That is where I am now, I think. Not searching, not chasing, just settling. The fire flickers a little lower, and the mist curls around us more fully now. I watch it dance across the coals, like breath drawn in slow. It softens everything, the lines of my armor, the shape of your shoulder, the outline of her wings. Even the stars seem gentler through it, as though they too have grown quiet, waiting only to watch us sleep. It's a good tired that I carry tonight, not the kind that pulls the limbs down or presses the lids shut in desperation. No, this is sleep tired, the kind that brushes its fingers behind your ears and sighs into your neck, the kind that arrives not to demand, but to soothe, the kind that trusts you've done enough for now. And I have. You have too. Whatever today asked of you, you answered. You made it to this fire, to this place, to this breath. That is enough. I find myself blinking slower now. Each moment stretches out longer between thoughts. The sun softer and fewer, not because I have nothing more to say, but because silence feels sweeter with you in it. There's a small hollow in the earth beneath me, just where my shoulder rests. It cradles the curve of my back perfectly. It wasn't carved, I think, just shaped over time by old roots and fallen leaves. But it feels made for this, made for rest. The earth remembers how to hold us when we forget how to be held. The dragon shifts slightly, and my hand moves with her. There's a sound she makes, right before falling into her deepest sleep, a little hum low and close to the chest, like a lullaby she sings to herself. I think she's singing it now. If you listen, you can hear the night joining her. The waterfall's distant hush, the faint cheer of insects, still murmuring among the ferns, the occasional creak of a tree remembering how tall it is. All of it is here for us. All of it holds us. I used to believe that purpose was something we earned, something forged through deeds, through daring. But now I wonder if purpose might be something simpler, something quieter. Perhaps it is simply to be present, to be kind, to be still when others rush, and to notice what blooms in the silence. Tonight, I feel that purpose clearly. To sit, to breathe, to share this warmth with you, and then to rest. The silver grove may never rise before me again, in leaf and stem, but its shape is still here, in the slow beat of my heart, in the way your presence has made this night softer than it would have been alone. We do not need to go anywhere from here. We have already arrived. So let your thoughts float like ash above the coals, light, aimless, unburdened. Let the weight fall from your shoulders, not all at once, but like snow slipping from a branch. Let yourself lean into the hush, into the warmth, into the peace. There is nothing left to do, dear one, nothing more to be. Just this, just now, just rest. And in a little while, when sleep finds you, I'll still be here. The fire will keep us. The dragon will dream. The stars will hold their vigil. You are safe. You are welcome. You are home. The night has settled fully now, my dear friend. The stars wheel silently overhead, scattered like shards of silver through a velvet sky. Their light filters softly through the leaves, casting faint, shifting patterns upon the earth where we rest. The fire has dwindled to a gentle glow, more warmth than flame, and the single candle beside us flickers with a delicate rhythm, like a heartbeat in the quiet. I find my voice growing softer, slower, as though the night itself is coaxing my words to rest alongside you. There is no need for speaking now, no need for stories or questions, only this moment, fragile and still, wrapped in the sound of the waterfall's distant song, low and endless, as if it sings just for us. You can feel it, can't you? That calm that comes not from silence alone, but from the space between sounds, the breath held softly before exhale, the pause in the wind as it turns a leaf or touches a petal. This is the hush that welcomes sleep, the gentle folding of day into night, the slow closing of weary eyes. Beside me, the dragon shifts ever so slightly in her sleep, a soft sigh escaping her lips. Her body, once fierce and unyielding, now rests peacefully here, unguarded and whole. I place my hand lightly upon her scales, feeling their cool smoothness beneath my fingers, a quiet comfort that anchors me to this moment, to this peace. I want you to know, my friend, that you are safe here, in this circle of firelight and shadow, beneath the watchful stars and the gentle song of falling water. There is no harm, there is only rest. There is only home. As I speak these words, they are not just for you, but for me as well, for the part of us that needs to hear, again and again, that it is enough to simply be, to surrender the weight of worries and fears, even if only for a while, to let the world slip away softly, like the fading of a melody. Sleep well, I whisper, my voice barely more than a hum, carried on the night air like a secret between old friends. Sleep well, my dear friend. You are safe. You are home. The candle flickers once more, a delicate dance of light in the dark, then settles. The waterfall continues its song, steady and sure, a lullaby that will carry us through the night until dawn's first light. And then silence, the kind of silence that holds everything, the past and the future, the dreams and the waking, the whispered goodbyes and the promises of return. Sleep now, my friend. Let your breath deepen and your heart soften. Let the quiet wrap around you like a gentle cloak. I will be here, beside you as you journey through the realm of dreams. Sowed patient, unless the morning comes.